What's up, NBA fans? Dom2K on the mic, and since Christmas is right around the corner, it's the season of giving, I figured I'd do my part and give you guys the gift of telling you about this awesome app that was just brought to my attention. The app is called Hardwood Amino for NBA, and they're doing a really good job creating a community for basketball fans that I really want you guys to be a part of because I actually just joined last night. As you can see, here's the profile I just created, and I'm already verified on the app, so nobody will be able to take that name, and you guys will actually be able to get on here and interact with me. As soon as you open up the front page, you'll be greeted to all the latest NBA news and highlights, which is really helpful to have in one place. You'll also see a group of live chats, which I've already joined, and this is a place where we can get together and talk about different things going on in the NBA, and we can actually watch some games together as well and chat about it as it's going on. And you can get on and check out player profiles, which are detailed profiles of your favorite basketball players, which are contributed by members of the app. As you can see, I've already added a lot to my profile, and I think it's a really cool feature. I obviously can't tell you everything about the app in this short amount of time, but what I can tell you is that I really think it's the future of sports apps. My personal favorite thing about the app is the community aspect of it, so I plan on being there a lot and interacting with the other members. Hopefully you guys will get on and follow me so we can interact and talk about basketball together. I will have the download link for the app in the description of the video and in the comment below the video, so I really hope to see you guys there. And now we can get to another Christmas topic, as today I'm here to give you 7 of the top performances on Christmas Day in NBA history. Now obviously Christmas Day is a very good day for the NBA and NBA fans alike. For some people it's the first time they really start watching basketball throughout the season. And for me, it's always the reason I say hell no every time I get invited to some kind of event on Christmas Day, because someone invites me somewhere and I'm like, nah, I can't do it, got these NBA matchups, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that's guilty of that, so don't act like you're a saint. Anyways, if you've ever dodged some type of event to watch one of these Christmas Day performances I'm about to tell you about, you know it was well worth it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about some players that brought their A game on December 25th. Number 7, Kobe Bryant vs. Derrick Rose, 2011. So technically this really counts as a duel and not a performance, but a couple of these are going to be that way, so I figured I'd start with the one that made me the most nostalgic. This matchup took place just about exactly 5 years ago, and it was the end of the NBA lockout. Now for those of you who actually experienced the lockout, you know it's probably the most painful thing an NBA fan can go through because there's no basketball, games that are supposed to be happening aren't happening, and you don't know if the season is coming back. But luckily for us in 2011, it actually did, and this was opening day. Christmas Day was actually opening day for the season since it was cut short, and Kobe Bryant and Derrick Rose did not disappoint opening up the season. Both of them had pretty good performances, as Derrick Rose was fresh off of his MVP season, he really had something to prove at this time because he had just been eliminated by the Miami Heat, and the Los Angeles Lakers were out to prove that their championship hunt wasn't quite over yet. They had been swept by the Dallas Mavericks after being defending champions in that playoffs, and you know, they just had a little chip on their shoulder because of that. It was a bit of an awkward game because Pau Gasol had just been traded a couple of weeks before in that Chris Paul deal that didn't go down, but you know, everyone had gotten over it, and Kobe Bryant definitely showed that wasn't on his mind because he was carrying Los Angeles throughout this game. He finished with 28 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds, and he gave you a dose of, you know, the crazy shots that he always hit throughout his career. Nobody could guard him. However, they did end up losing this game. Something I think a lot of people don't remember is that the Lakers were actually up by 10 points with just 4 minutes to go in the game, so it looked like they were going to give Los Angeles an opening day win. But Chicago came storming back. A couple of bad plays happened on LA's side, a turnover, which gave Derrick Rose the opportunity to hit the game-winning shot on Christmas Day, and this is what happened next.
The Bulls with a chance to win here on Christmas Day. Rose left, Rose in the lane, Rose, good! Derrick Rose and the Bulls come back to take a 1-point lead.
Just to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret, this is actually one of my favorite shots in NBA history. I'll never forget standing in front of the TV, the lockout was over that day, so excited to see the NBA back, and Derrick Rose does not disappoint with a game winner over the 7-foot Pau Gasol. To me, this meant that Derrick Rose was ready to build on that MVP season, and that's also a reason why I put this on the list. He finished with 22 points and 6 assists, Kobe Bryant finished with his amazing stat line, and the reason it made the list is because this is really one of the last times we ever saw a prime Derrick Rose versus an elite Kobe Bryant. As we all know, injuries hit Derrick Rose very hard a couple of months after this game, and they did the same to Kobe a few years later. We never actually got to see these guys compete at a high level again, but you know, I'm always going to hold this matchup dear to my heart because this was one of the last times we got to see it. Number 6, Heat vs Lakers, 2004. So you're going to see Kobe Bryant on this list more than once because he had his hand in a lot of Christmas Day games, and in this specific one you saw a grudge match between Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. As we all know, Shaq and Kobe didn't get along when they were in Los Angeles together. It resulted in Shaq being traded to Miami, and this was the first time that they would see each other on opposing teams since that trade. This is basically Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook 12 years earlier. Well, except for the fact that this game ended up a lot more entertaining and a lot closer on the count that neither of these guys was on an overpowered super team. You already know Kobe Bryant does not bullshit when it comes to challenges, and he showed that he was out for blood this game. He opened up and he hit about 3 straight 3-pointers, and it looked like it was going to be a special night from the jump. Meanwhile, Shaquille O'Neal was just absolutely dominating the Lakers big men, and this was before the days of Andrew Bynum, so they had guys like Chris Mim and I have no clue, some 2K generic players. Shaquille O'Neal ended up with 24 points and 11 rebounds. Meanwhile, Kobe Bryant finished with 42 points, 6 assists, and 9 turnovers, which might have hurt them a little bit. Before this game ended up going into overtime, Shaq ended up fouling out, and I think it was a foul on Kobe Bryant actually. This gave the floor to Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade, and Kobe had the ultimate chance to put the nail in the coffin to show that he didn't need Shaq. He had a chance to hit a game winner on Christmas Day on LA's home floor, and he got really close, but it just wasn't meant to be on that day. Listening to Shaq's interview after the game, it was pretty clear he was taking shots at Kobe. Check it out.
Kobe is launching that 3 at the very end of that first overtime. What are you thinking?
I knew that it wasn't going to go in. And that's all we want to do, come here and win. You know, we're not trying to score 50 or 60 points and try to outdo anybody. No, we just want to play good team ball, and that's what we did today.
As if that wasn't throwing enough salt in the wound, that was the Heat's 11th straight win as they improved to 22-7. Meanwhile, the Lakers fell to 14-12, so it was very clear that the absence of Shaq was hurting LA and helping Miami. Number 5, Bernard King, 1984. Now, I probably didn't mention it before the video, but I'm not ranking these in any particular order, so the fact that I have Bernard King 5th, you don't need to come from my head on this one because, again, it's not in order. This is very clearly the best individual performance on a Christmas Day, as Bernard King ended up scoring 60 points on his former team. A lot of you don't know a whole lot about Bernard King, but he was one of the greatest scorers of his time. As a matter of fact, this season when he scored 60, he actually ended up leading the NBA, averaging 32 points per game. Something that made this even more special was he actually had 40 points in the first half, so if he had doubled up, he could have had 80 that day, but you know, it just didn't work out that way. A lot of people don't know about Bernard King, definitely one of the greatest scorers of his time, and he's actually one of the players that a lot of people don't talk about, but most of his best days were taken from injury. I'm gonna save a lot of what I want to say about him for a future video because that would be a very good teaching moment. For now, we're just gonna go ahead and move on to some more performances. Number 4, Michael Jordan in 1992. By the year 1992, the Chicago Bulls had already repeated and they were working on their 3rd championship. Not only that, but this was the Christmas before Michael Jordan decided to call it quits for the first time on basketball because of what happened to his father. If this had been the last Christmas Day that Michael Jordan played, had he actually stayed retired, it would not have been a bad thing to remember him by because he hit the New York Knicks for 42 points that day. He also had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals to go with that, and for those of you who live under a rock and have no clue for some reason, the Bulls and Knicks was a very heated rivalry and it was really heating up at this time. The Bulls had actually just eliminated the Knicks in the 1992 playoffs in a 7-game series, so that wound was very fresh. Just a month before this game, the Bulls actually lost to the Knicks by about 30 points in the Madison Square Garden. The Bulls actually found themselves trailing by a little bit in this game, but MJ has never been one to back away from a challenge. He goes off for 42 points, the Bulls actually end up winning that game by double digits, and this performance just goes in a long line of what we all remember about the Bulls and Knicks rivalry. That's something I would also love to talk about in a later video because this just goes hand in hand with that. But Michael Jordan was not the only Bull that liked to torture the Knicks on Christmas Day. Number 3, Scottie Pippen in 1994. So this game takes place the year after Michael Jordan unofficially retires for the first time, and this is also the season where he came back a couple of months later. But before that, the Bulls were struggling a bit because after Scottie Pippen had his name in the MVP race the year before that, they were falling off a little bit, they had lost some guys, but they still knew how to beat up on some New York Knicks. New York might have thought they were off the hook because MJ wasn't there, but little brother held the fort down as Scottie Pippen had 36 points and 16 rebounds that day in an overtime win, proving that he could still shine without Michael Jordan being there. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't know, especially if you're a newer fan. You might think it was just all MJ, but Scottie Pippen is definitely one of the better two-way players to ever play this game, and he held his own for a long time without Michael Jordan. In his first year without Michael, he was averaging 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, so that just shows how versatile he was, and this performance just goes to show why the Knicks could never handle the Bulls when Michael Jordan and Scottie were both there. One year Michael hits them for 42, the next year Scottie Pippen hits them for 36 and 16. You put those two together and, well, there's your answer as why the Bulls were always running the East, right? Number 2, LeBron James 2010. So this is a game that I remember clear as day. Although it happened 6 years ago, I feel like it just happened yesterday because LeBron James, this was his first Christmas in Miami. Obviously there was the whole show about him leaving Cleveland and everyone just hated the Miami Heat. But one thing I was personally looking forward to was seeing Kobe Bryant go against this new super team. You gotta remember back at this time, Kobe Bryant was deemed as immortal on a basketball court. He was fresh off his repeat, they had just beat the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series, but here you go with this super team in Miami with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, and you're like, well, something has to give because you got Kobe and his LA squad on one side, and then you got Miami Big Three on the other, who was finally starting to click, and they were really on a roll by the time Christmas Day came around, so we did not know what was going to happen. And I've also got to remind you that at this time, the Miami Heat still seemed like a video game because a lot of us were still trying to wrap our minds around the fact LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh played on the same team, but then you throw Kobe and Gasol on the same floor with them, and we just couldn't imagine it at that point in time. But I've got to remind you guys that this matchup was nothing short of a disappointment. The Los Angeles Lakers never led after the 5-minute mark in the first quarter. Yeah, they got dominated like that the entire game. And I think for most of us, this is when reality hit that the Miami Heat were really kind of like a video game team. The fact that they had just came in and manhandled the defending champion LA Lakers was actually pretty amazing because just a year before, that team wasn't really touchable by most standards. LeBron James really asserted his dominance in this game as he had 27 points, 10 assists, and 11 rebounds, and for one of the only times we could ever remember in his career, he actually talked trash. This rare snippet of Kobe Bryant and LeBron James jawing at each other up the court is one of the rare times you will see LeBron actually engage in somebody saying something to him, and it's even more special when you know the fact that Kobe Bryant texted LeBron James that summer when he first went to Miami. He told him something along the lines of, you can go win another MVP, choose whatever city you want to play in, but don't worry about the finals because we're gonna win that. So you know this game definitely meant something extra to both of them. They're friends at the end of the day, but extremely competitive on the court, as you can see. Number 1, Tracy McGrady vs. LeBron James, 2003. Now, here's a little nugget I know a lot of you probably don't know about, because at the time of this Christmas matchup, the Magic and the Cavaliers were both terrible teams. The Orlando Magic actually had a 19-game losing streak before Christmas Day, and this was LeBron James' first year with Cleveland, so it was one of the rare times that Cavaliers were actually ever bad under LeBron James' control. But much like the matchup between Kobe Bryant and Derrick Rose earlier in this list, this made the list because this is one of the rare times we got to see LeBron James and T-Mac play each other at the height of their powers. As a matter of fact, this was LeBron's rookie year, so it's not the height of their powers, but you know what I'm saying. Tracy McGrady got injured and we never got to see all the matchups that we were really supposed to see between those two. And you could hear it in the crowd. The passion from the crowd in this video, I'm going to link you to it, and you guys, you got to go listen to it because it sounds like a high school game or a college game. Although both teams are absolutely trash, people are going crazy over T-Mac and LeBron. This was the first time that these two got to play each other, and the expectations for LeBron James were so high out of high school that all the All-Stars in the NBA really wanted to give LeBron James their best matchup, and that's really what we got here. Both of these players combined for 75 points. T-Mac had 41 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals. Meanwhile, LeBron James had 34 and 6. So it definitely shows that LeBron James was able to bring the best out of T-Mac that day, and you could definitely see it on both their faces. They were going at it. It was actually kind of funny because coming into this matchup, LeBron James had said the best player he had played against so far was Baron Davis, but you know it totally changed after this night. The Magic were able to walk away with the win, but it was still very interesting to see LeBron James going at T-Mac the way he did when he literally had just left high school. So this is definitely a matchup I wish I was actually watching, but again, I was only in about the 3rd grade at this time. I was totally oblivious to the fact this was even going on. At least we have the tape from it though. I recommend you go watch the full thing because it was a duel. And there you have it. Those are 7 of the top performances and games from Christmas Day. Now, honestly, I looked down the list for Christmas Day this year and it's pretty anticlimactic for me. After the Warriors and Cavaliers, just some of these matchups don't really mean that much to me. I'm gonna watch them because I'm an NBA fan. I'm not that excited for them, but you know, I want to hear from you which matchup you guys are most excited for. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you end up enjoying the app. I'm Dom2K. Like, comment, and sub if you enjoyed. Have an amazing Christmas if I don't get a video out before then, and I'll see you guys on the next video.